Bam. How's that? Is that better? 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 I'll put yeah, better? 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 Let us be better? Better? Anyways. God damn it. Now I gotta fucking set all my goddamn screens back up. Oh, I hate when you guys ask. Yeah, but you're right. You're right. It was fine. All right. So I love the way the drums sound. I think they sound rad, but I think that I would love to hear a little bit more presence from the kick and the snare. At least to start with, I think I'd like to hear a little bit more presence of the kick and snare. Now, I could go about that a lot of different ways, but I'm going to do it the way that I think is probably the easiest, which is parallel saturation. And I'm going to right away route this to the same place as everything else, the instrument. Bring this down here. Right? I'm basically just sending my kick in, kick out, snare top, snare bottom, but I'm not setting any levels yet. Then I'm going to come into, oh shit, we're going to get, I like that every time I type in thermionic culture vulture, we're going to get a siren. That's essential in life. I'm not going to lie.
Stupid.
There we go, kids. All right, yeah, that's time. You hear that siren, you know it's time for Greazy's Secret Tips. Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. No, we have not gotten restricted, and I haven't even said anything horrible yet. Right now, we are just rocking, having a good old time. That's right. Oh, yeah. That's the culture vulture, folks. All right. So we got this culture vulture, and I'm going to turn the drive up to about 4. I'm going to turn the output down just a little bit, and that is pretty much all I'm going to touch on it because it's probably all I need to touch.
Sitting in a high chair, you will never be found. I see they got girls there where you will never be found.
All right, and the way that I normally do this is once I start, when I'm trying to the first thing I do is I send too much. I always send too much of the signal, and I listen to what the most of that signal is. Then I turn back down, and I listen to I barely hear it, right? That's what I'm trying to do is I'm going to turn up and I'm going to hear that, oh, that's too much. And then I'm going to turn down and I'll be like, okay, I can barely hear it. And then I find a midpoint right in there. And I'm like, that's it. And I don't fuck with this, this precious little, I move things little bits at a time. You know, it's like, I hate when people do that. Yes, folks, that's right. I hate when people do that. I hate when people do tiny little incremental moves and maybe 0.2 dB, a little bit more, a little bit less, a little bit. Oh my God, dude! Like, seriously, what is wrong with you? Like, is it really that precious of a move? Are you really going to sit there and be like, oh, it was so correct 2 seconds ago and then now it's not? Really, a lot of times, if you get it into a reasonable place, your automation in the future is going to be the thing that determines. It's like, as you automate stuff, your volumes are going to change anyway. So it's like, why are you doing this tiny, half a dB is fine. Like, I'm not trying to, I'm talking about these people doing 2.2, 0.3 of a dB. It's like, what are y'all doing, man? Like, this is, and then being like, it's too much. It's like, just set it and get over it and then come back later and do a little tweak, but don't do all of the tweaking right away. You don't even know how it sounds across the whole song. You're listening to like a little snippet and being like, oh, I got to get it right there. Like, what about the dynamics of the song? What about the changes? Just chill, bro. So just be more heavy-handed with shit. It's like people who are little teensy little moves. Oh God, you suck. You suck a lot. right, and to compare, I'll play this back and forth so you can hear both. And as you can hear, that is just giving so much more presence and life to the kick and snare. It's just pushing them through forward in the mix a little bit more without really altering my drum mix as a whole at all, which is really helpful. I think that doing little things where you're not like over upsetting the whole balance of the drums makes the whole thing really come alive. So I like the drums where they're at right now. The next step from here, the last step of this whole thing is going to be like creative shit and automation. So I think the drums are at a good level and everything sounds really good. So I'm just going to leave it where it's at and move on to the rest of the stuff. Now, this tambourine, right off the bat, I can see that it is mono. And it has been, normally I don't have to go this long in between mix revisions, so I don't necessarily know what my choices were on everything. I'm just making some decisions based on what's here already. I can see it's panned a little bit to the right. I don't know if I did that or if I just left it from whoever did it before, but I am now going to pay attention to the tambourine and see where it needs to sit in the mix. And it might be everywhere, but we'll see. Something tells me I did not even look at this at all because it's still routed to 1-2, which means I didn't even put out an instrument track. I might have just completely disregarded this the first time we came through. It seems as though I have, because clearly, yep, I did. Clearly I did. That's exactly what I did. I disregarded this completely on my first pass through, which is not abnormal. There's a lot of stuff to look at. There's a lot of stuff to think about. It's totally not weird to like blow past something, especially like when you get into bigger tracks. Now, this isn't that crazy, but still, it could be better. So let's listen to this tambourine now.
Sitting in a high chair, you will never.
I don't know what happened. Now my mute button's not working, guys. We are having a tough day. Anyway, new technology changes, and it's very hard to adapt to, and everybody will just have to get over it. All right, so I can see clearly these are two completely different tambourine sounds. Like, these should not be considered the same thing at all. We should make a new track for these right away. Move all these single tambo hits should be treated differently from the rest of this stuff. This shake stuff here, in fact, even maybe from here, it needs to be treated different because these need to be big, important hits. These guys need to be quiet, subtle things, kind of like just driving the tempo. So we're going to treat them completely different. I'm going to come over here and just take everything out. I'm going to do this because in my mind, this is easier than automating, is just creating a second track, because then I can just start off right off the bat treating these entirely different. So we're going to come over here. I'm going to start with the single hits, and I'm going to send those to big tambo verb. And I'm going to route that to the instrument output. And I am going to throw a Valhalla on here. Bam. We're going to turn that down just a little bit. Turn down the pre-delay. Set this to a bright haw. Turn the low cut up, because if you don't, your mixes start sounding so muddy so fast. We're going to send entirely too much of it to it. All right. Porque no worky. Oh, is it because I'm not clicking on this? I just don't understand why my mute button.
No adequate sex life, no palatable communication from my ex. I need a mind, something I can fuck up, someone who can take apart what's inside. Well, my no adequate sex life, no palatable communication from my ex. I need a mind, something I can fuck up, someone who can take apart what's inside. Well,
All right. So I think that's a pretty good place to start with that. I'm also probably going to take a little bit of EQ on here. I like, again, I've said this before, I like to EQ before compression if it is something like a high pass, you know, because you're taking out that low end. I'm never going to get sick of that. That is going to be fun forever. I love it. I need to have the rant button at all times. All right. So I hate when people say, where do you put an EQ? Before or after compression? Just think about the process. What are you trying to do with this EQ? Like, how does it matter to you? Like, in this situation, I'm going to be taking off low end from this sound, right? That low end is going to affect how this compressor works. This compressor works, right? If you get rid of low end, there's not signal there for it to need to compress, so it's not going to compress as hard. Therefore, the signal that is there will be compressing more completely. That's what I'm trying to do in this situation. Is there times where I want to compress the whole sound together before I EQ it? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I cannot stand that people act like there's a one answer for this. It's like, think about like the cause and effect of the entire thing, and you will have a much better mix experience. Don't just think about like rules or things that people tell you. Just literally think about, what am I trying to accomplish? Do I want to have this whole thing smashed together and then remove that low end? Or do I want to remove the low end and then smash that sound together? In this case, remove the low end, smash that sound together. It is not that complicated to me. I don't understand why people have so much trouble with it. It is truly frustrating.
sitting in the kitchen with the lights on. Surely ain't a missing, caught up in a new world. You will never be found. All this time will make it easier on you. When you got all the world, but you cannot make it big.
All right, so I like where that's sitting. Sounds really cool. I'm not going to really mess with it right now. I am going to let it sit right in the middle. I think it's something that goes along with the snare during the song. So putting it off to one side is going to make it, there's no balance, right? If I put that sound off to one side, there would be no balance whenever you hear that. The snare hits and that thing hits off to one side. It makes your head feel like you're supposed to do this with your drums. You're not supposed to do that with your drums. You're supposed to just listen to your drums. So, all right, now for this section where it's a fast shaker, this is the type of thing where I actually, if this was me, or a fast tambo, I'm sorry, if this was me, I would 100% be recording this in stereo, because I want this to feel much more bouncy to the outsides. I don't want this to just sit opposite the hat, right? Because that's probably what they did with this. I'm just going to guess. That sounds like what people do. Correctamundo. So to me, I don't want that there. I want this to feel more like it's bouncing around. All right, I'm going to throw another EQ on here so I can control this the way that this sounds with the mix. There's not a lot of low-end information, but that's definitely I'm going to get that anyway. And then I'm going to take a little high off of this one as well. We're going to turn this into a sound, and we're going to use the, that's not what I was looking for. We're going to use the Pan Man. I love the Pan Man. I love the Pan Man with a very light. I hate the Haas effect. I hate people using it. Anytime I hear it on a song, it's used horribly, and I fucking hate it. All right. Mini rant. We need a mini rant. We need a greasy. We need a greasy mini rant button because I don't want to fool. I just hate the Haas effect, man. It's like you guys aren't good at it. Just stop doing it. Just stop doing it, man. Every time I hear it, I'm just like, why are you guys doing that? It sounds so bad. It's like it sounds like you just took all the life out of a sound. Like every time I hear somebody using the Haas effect, it's like you shouldn't hear it. It shouldn't be a thing. People do it so much, and it's so frustrating. And I hate wideners. I hate all that stuff. That's not really making width. Like, I hate this concept of width. All right, I'm not going to do this because I do width every week. I hate this concept of width. It's a stupid fucking thing. Space is more important than width. Creating space is width. Create space, not width. Just a whole thing. Oh, God, it's so dumb. Like, you like a song can hit you just like as a fucking orchestra, or it can sound like just this hollow, disgusting. Oh God, just stop using wideners, bro. There is front to back, there's up and down, there's all sorts of dimensions to a mix that are involved that are more than just how wide you can make them. And the measurement of width is fucking stupid. Stop putting wideners on your stuff. You don't even understand them. All right, so Tambo with the Pan Man. I like to use the fast shimmer pan. Right? So it's going, and I close that width up so it's just barely going left and right. And you'll hear this now. It's going to make this tambo feel like it's shaking in the stereo field, actually back and forth like a real shaker would be. Now, I don't usually set the rate to anything like specific. I don't try and set it to the tempo of the song because that's not how people do shakers. They don't, I mean, they move with the rhythm of the song, but how they move in and out of the stereo field, that's kind of random. So whenever I'm doing the shimmer pan here, I always let this be whatever. It's not showing right now. I don't know why this rate sometimes does this. It freezes up. It's like a visual thing. Anyways, I'm just letting it go. I'll adjust it if it feels too weird, but for the most part, I just leave it go. Now, I am going to put some reverb on this to help ease the relationship here so it doesn't feel like it's just shaking back and forth hard as fuck, right? I'm going to just put a little bit so it puts it into depth and also makes it feels like it's in a space. And I'm just going to use the same big tambo reverb and turn it down because I don't need nearly as much of it because it'll be fine. But the gist is really I want this to feel like a vibe rather than it being all up in your face. Now, the thing to notice with this that's super helpful, right, is how much you can hear it still as you turn it down, because your brain registers the difference between left and right volume changes, right? This is why, oh God, I'm gonna reach for the rant button. I'm not gonna reach for the rant button. This is why when people mention the difference in mono microphone techniques versus an XY, I think that they're insane because your brain measures the difference right to left in volume, not just time of arrival, right? So when you're hearing this go back and forth, your ears are quickly responding to the fact that it is going back and forth. You're like, psh, 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 psh. Your ears are hearing that and recognizing it better, meaning it can pick it out much better because there's movement back and forth. This is just a way that your brain works, and this is why whenever people talk about width, I think it's insane because like you get better understanding of stereo width by volume changes between the sides, you know, and independent changes between the sides than you do of anything else. It's like your brain really recognizes that when hearing it back. So just keep that in mind. I don't really use stereo wideners. I don't use Haas effect. I don't do any of that stuff. I would rather have something like a Pan Man, even something moving super slow across this. would feel like a different stereo perspective each time. And then your brain will be able to hear it better. All right, so I don't like to listen to things in stereo and solo. I was just doing that for y'all. I'm just going to put this back up, and then we'll actually listen to this.
Sitting in a high chair, you will never be found. I see they got girls there where you will never be found.
Now, I can tell you right now, in my final phase, the big thing that I'm going to be worrying about in this whole thing is I am going to want to get that tambo that I just messed with. I'm going to want to get that. Let me just do. I'm going to get that just slightly more ridden in the verse. So I don't need to hear this right now. I know that in the future I'm going to come back and I'm going to automate this out of the vocal space. Whenever he's singing, I'm going to pull it back a little bit. Whenever he's not singing, I'm going to give you a little bit more of that. As soon as he starts singing again, I'm going to pull it back, right? All right, so then we're going to go down here. The next thing is our bass. I felt really great about it. I feel like, again, this is probably mostly an automation thing from here on out. But as I said, 3 passes of a song. We're on the second pass. This is where I make things move and get a little bit more creative and get a little bit more intimate with the song.
Sitting in a high chair, you will never be found. I see they got girls there where you will never be found.
Okay, so again, this is a situation. I think these choruses are completely different for this bass, and it is just faster to duplicate this track and turn them into 2 different things than to automate anything. So in this case, I'm going to take the verses and the pre's and put them on one track, and I am going to take the choruses and put them on another track. Oops. And put them on another track. And I'm going to assume all this stuff is probably... We'll leave it there for now. We'll come back and figure it out later. I'm going to guess outro. Well, let's see. Let's listen. Interesting. This is the first time I've listened to the outro, so I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait and deal with that later, but I think everything else is probably cool. All right, so I'm going to come back over here. The reason that I did this, I think these choruses, they and the intro in this, they need more drive. There's more stuff going on. It just needs more drive, and I'm going to get some of it from here, from this TG 1 2 3 4 5, just a little bit more drive here. But I'm also going to probably add some drive.
Sitting in a high chair, you will never be found. I see they got girls there where you will never be found. Well, my own, sitting in the kitchen with sitting in a high chair. You will never be found.
All right, so you'll notice that what I did there is whenever I got to the verse, I pulled out a little bit more of this lower frequency, like the 50 area, like almost -3 now, which once it's through that master compression is definitely going to change things up a little bit. But I wanted to, once it got to the verse, I want that bass to really not fill up any low end anymore, because there's a lot of space in the song, and by opening up that low end, you open up space in the song. The vocal can sit much better. It's got a lot of space for it to exist all through the frequency. Even though the vocal isn't down at 50 hertz, it's like what 50 hertz does is it like will absolutely cloud up your mid-range. Like hearing, I think that's a thing that's like, we always try and think about things frequency-wise, but just because a bass isn't in the same frequency range as a vocal doesn't mean that it doesn't affect how much of the like space you're taking up, right? And so whenever you're doing this, I'm always looking for places to make openness happen in the song, right? It's sympathetic frequency. It's harmonics. You know, it's all that stuff. Like if you know how harmonics works, like everything above it also exists below it, right? So it's not just like harmonics just don't go up; they go down as well, right? And so by taking that out, you're just creating a space that exists for that vocal to sit a little better. All right, so do you typically reach for that during verses? I don't know. I'm going to tell you right now, everything. There's a question right now. Do you typically reach for that during verses? No. Every single time I do anything, it is just instinct. Like it is at the point now where I'm feeling like, oh, I want this to drop. I just do this and I'll be done with it. Like I do what is right for the song every time. There's almost never a situation where you can say, oh, he always does that. I mean, there's a few things like plug-in wise, I always reach for certain ones, but it's just because they have a lot of options or they do a specific thing I'm looking for. It's like I'm never really specifically doing anything intentionally every single time, because I feel like you have to, in this business,